Hello, everybody. Welcome to Finding Purpose with Seyi. I'm really excited. I'm so excited. This is our first and maiden edition, of Finding Purpose with Seyi. So I'm really, really excited, and I'm just glad we have Steve with us. I'll just quickly go to Steve in a few minutes, just to tell you about what the show is all about. Finding Purpose with Seyi is a show where we look through our pain and we see what purpose is there, because we're not just all bent in looking at what our pain is all about. We are more also concerned about there's a purpose in everything we've gone through in life. And because there's a purpose in that, that gives us an excitement, even though the journey sometimes could be, tough, could be difficult, and over the time, and if you look back in your pain, you find out that there was actually a purpose there in that pain that you've gone in through the pain. So I've got with me Steve, and I'm really excited.
Likewise, Seyi.
It's our first time together, yeah. So we're really, really excited. I'm so excited. It's our maiden, like I said, it's our maiden edition. We're so excited. Thank you for the people that are joining us. We are really excited. I'll just quickly wait for a few more people to join, so don't mind me if you see my excitement, because I am really excited that we're here, and we're starting this, and it's really good because thank you for those that are joining us on Instagram. Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just looking at that. So we've got somebody. So with me, I've got Steve Collett, and he's just going to have give us a brief introduction about himself before I go in. I know I did some research about you, and I've seen that you've done some amazing things, in the body of Christ and your career and all that. But what really got my attention is your work with the Billy Graham Association, and that really excited me. So I would like you to just tell us a bit about what you do there and a little bit about you before we pop on the show.
Yeah, sure. So short intro. Just over a year now, I've been database manager for the Franklin Graham tour to the UK.
Okay.
And it just kind of came out of the blue, totally unexpected. And last February I was offered the role, but I didn't know if this was God's will or not, so I wanted proof.
Okay.
So I'm in the middle of Tesco one day picking up power adapter for the laptop before I go to the States to do my induction. And I said, Lord, I've got to have proof that you're in this. I really want to know that you're in this. I need to know the tour is of you. I need to know that everything's of you and genuine. And so as I'm walking out of Tesco, there's a literally hoodie fleece there that says North Carolina in the clothing section, which is where their headquarters is, which is where I'm heading. I thought, okay, Lord, I get the hint.
You get the message.
Yeah, so that was kind of really obvious for those that really don't get the hint from the Lord,
Wow.
And it's been a privilege being there, working with some of the most incredible people and some of the most amazing experiences, and teaching me as well about database construction and how that works in an evangelical outreach. Obviously because of the lockdown at the moment, the tour's been postponed, but we're hoping to go ahead with it later in the year, but we'll just see how things play out. But it is going to go ahead. It's just delayed now. So we're really excited to be, still have 8 cities planned, and it's really generating a lot of interest, and we're really, really excited about it as well, because this is the first major outreach in 31 years. So it's great, really exciting.
And that's good for us because of the lockdown, we can actually have you on our show. So we're quite excited with that.
We've obviously got the website grahamtour.org.uk, and you can go to billygraham.org as well to check out some more archive material and what else they do, and Samaritan's Purse, the relief work they're doing with the hospital in Central Park and Cremona in Italy as well, which is you know, disaster relief and that kind of thing, and medical help. So you know, that's all part of the same organisation, which is great.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Thank you for that, Steve. So I'm just going to going straight into some of the questions that I've got here. I've got
Sure.
you know, I know you've got a beautiful family, and you've got 5 children.
Yeah, that's correct.
But I know that all that have not come with it's not been a smooth journey all the way. There've been some challenges on this journey, and one of the challenges that you've got along that journey of having children, you know, is the fact that you have 4 children with that autistic. And I just want you to just tell us a bit about that and your journey about that and how that's played with you.
Wow, it's been quite a journey. It's certainly nothing that what I was expecting or prepared for. So my eldest a couple of weeks ago turned 26. Wow. Yeah. It's gone that quick. So he was born 94. And you know, there was nothing to indicate that there were any problems. And until he started hitting around 1.5, 2 years old. And obviously when you have your first child, you have no real reference point on how to base their development and speed of development. So basically, we noticed that he wasn't speaking. His movements weren't quite right, and we started investigating. And nobody seemed too bothered. They said, oh, he's just a late developer. But then things started happening, like by the age of 3, he still wasn't talking. And so he was going for blood tests, and the blood tests weren't showing anything up. So after a year of blood tests, we took him to a private doctor, and in 20 minutes, he diagnosed autism. And to say it was like a kind of bolt out the blue is an understatement. I mean, it was just like all of a sudden you're kind of thrown into this different world that you didn't know existed. And, you know, the only reference we had in the late 90s for autism was, you know, Rain Man with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. And, you know, so of course, first thing you do is you go home, you watch that film, you think, you know, what?
I know.
And then you're just like, well, how do I quantify this? How do I deal with this? And we you know, we didn't have anybody in the family that was in the medical profession or social work profession or any of those arenas. And we, you know, we had no experience of any kind of special needs or disabilities ourselves. So we were just kind of, you know, me and my wife were just kind of in the dark. You know, by then you know, Nathaniel's sister had come along. So we were taken up with, you know, kind of bringing both of them up, and she was taken up a lot of time as well. So we couldn't dedicate the amount of time we wanted to him that perhaps we should have. But, you know, we kind of worked our way around the labyrinth of the medical profession, because a lot of the time we were finding out more than the medical profession knew, which was kind of disconcerting, because I think a lot of people go to their doctors, specialists, pediatricians, geneticists, and think they know everything, and they don't. They really don't. They know a lot of parents, in fact. And honestly, sometimes the parents are the best at understanding what's going on with their child. And that was a big revelation for us, a big revelation. And so, yeah, so there was the impact of that. And to be quite honest, the first 3 months, for me anyway, I felt numb. I didn't know what to do, how to react, you know, anything like that. But after, you know, fortunately I had some good friends around me, and we, you know, we were able to talk. And yeah, I mean, it kind of didn't I mean, it's appropriate now. It didn't negate the feeling of sort of self-isolation. You know, you did feel isolated. You didn't feel that there was anybody else that could relate to your situation in the world. You know, you've got to understand this was when, you know, before Facebook, when the internet was very young. So any access you did have online was very sketchy and very slow. So you didn't have the communication that you do now.
That you have now, yeah.
And you didn't have access to the knowledge either, and you certainly didn't have access to you know, online to instant information like from National Autistic Society or anything like that. So it was very much
different.
Correct.
Yeah,
it was very different, and it was this world that we were not used to. So I think we were very disorientated.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. But for me, Steve, I think going on with what you've said is, you know, it's okay when, you know, you are in a state of confusion and isolation, being the first one, then the second one, then the third one, then the fourth one. So how can you put your feelings into all those stages into words for us?
For me, I had to go through the process of what is going on, like any human being would do. What on earth is going on here?
What have I done? What have I done to the big G?
You know, how has this happened? You know, you can't quantify how this has happened. You could. I think that if as a parent, I had to deal with, say, for example, a tragic accident where my child was hit by a car, for example, and they ended up in hospital and it was really serious, then you would think, okay, I understand why this happened. This was, you know, it was an accident, it happened, you know, now you can process that. When your child is diagnosed with something the medical establishment hardly understands, and you're certainly not getting answers out of them, and you don't know where to get the answers, it's very disconcerting, and it's very, very hard, because you feel that you want to love and care and look after this other human life, this young human life that's depending on you for everything, and you don't know how to. And there are no, every parent has this, there are no rule books yet. But there's another dimension that is so way out, that is so different than what you're used to, or what most people are used to, that you do question. And I question my faith. And my questioning was of, we don't know what was wrong. So how can God heal something when we don't even know what it is? We can't even pray for it. How can God allow their God? Is there even a God? And I had to work through that. And slowly and surely, I saw miracles unfold. Literal miracles, where they would gradually have healing in their development in themselves. And me, and I had to have that as well.
That's really good, because it's so real, because like I tell people on my show, and when we do things, it's always good to actually express how you feel, you know, and to let other people know that it's okay for you to actually feel down. It's okay for you to actually feel sad. It's okay for you to feel that, oh, what have I done wrong to the big G that is giving me this problem? You know, am I the only one? You know, and it's okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Some people are saying, Steve, thank you, Steve, Stephen, for sharing. Medicine in the 90s to now has changed drastically, I must say. So thank you for all our viewers. Like I said, I'm on with Steve at the moment, and we're talking about his challenges with the children, and how he has created purpose in the pain. And he has just shared the experience of knowing, you know, what he felt when he had the first child, then the second, then the third, then the fourth, and his kind of feeling. And he just told us the kind of feeling that he felt, feeling of isolation, feeling, you know, even blaming God. Why would you do that to me? and that's where we are at the moment. So thank you for joining us. The next question, Steve, for me, which is really, really amazing, is over the course of your journey and your challenge, you've discovered that each of your children had a specific gifting. Would you want to tell us what each one of them had as their gifting, and how you did nurture them to actually express that gifting?
Yeah. Okay. So Nathan obviously was the eldest, and he could drop kick a ball in a straight plumb line from the age of like 3, and we thought, we know he's gonna. You just know what you know, and we knew he loved football, and so we got him involved in a local special needs through the school.
Yeah.
So he's still involved with that. But he helped compete with the team at the Special Olympics in 2013 in Bath.
Wow.
So, he absolutely loved it. I mean, football is his thing, and he loves it. And I've always tried to encourage them to go after what their special skill is, instead of trying to mold them into what I want them to do and to be. But to kind of tap that, and then say, okay, how can we kind of nurture that? How can we, expand that in their experience? And unfortunately, there wasn't the exposure, there wasn't the understanding like there is now. Back then, younger, so it's just like a kick around the field and the garden and that kind of thing. And then schools realised that the Special Needs Olympics were coming to UK back in 2013, and he got involved in that. And now he plays for Cheshunt Special Needs team in Hertfordshire. So he loves it. I mean, he just doesn't do anything else apart from listening to music, I think. But he loves his football. And then Anastasia, who's 15 months younger, she loves art and creativity. So she's got a kind of bedroom studio where she has different disciplines of art. Yeah.
Wow.
So she, she doesn't clear up after herself though.
It's okay.
That's right. So she wants to run a studio, but she's always loved art, and she's always been a very creative person in that field. With Josiah, my middle son, we knew from the age of 18 months when he pushed up a chair. He was 18 months old. We thought he disappeared from church. And we ran out the church building looking for him, and it turned out he'd disappeared into the worship band and pushed a chair up to the drummer and just like stared at these bongos. And from then he started on a big drum kit and different instruments, and they played
3. Wow.
Yeah, 3 at 3 years old he was playing a full-size drum kit.
Wow. And now he plays 17 instruments.
And now he plays 17 instruments. So I would take him to gigs, and he started playing a local jazz club when he was 6. Just to get the experience, because you're not going to learn how to play jazz at school. So he went to a mainstream junior school, but a special needs senior school, because that was appropriate for him, and there just wasn't opportunities at the special needs senior school for him for music. So I would take him to London to Brazilian clubs so he could learn percussion, and he would play in the Brazilian clubs in London, and he absolutely loved it. It was part of who he is. And then there's Alicia. She loves her singing, so she wants to be a vocalist. And she's really over the moon with sort of performing. She sings in the worship band at church, like Joe plays there as well, and so she loves singing. And then Evangeline, my youngest, who hasn't got special needs, she plays piano, harp, violin, and steel pan as well. So she wants to be a harpist when she's older.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, and for me, especially from my part of, where we always want the children to either be a doctor, or, we just want them to be what we want them to be. But looking at each of yours and just reading them, we have Nathan that he plays football. We have Anastasia into art. We've got Josiah that plays 17 instruments. Wow. We've got also Alicia that plays vocals, and for me, it's just, the saints, for me, it's a gift. And being able to actually identify all these gifts and harnessing them for me. And I think you've given us one tip there, really looking into what they want to do rather than what you want to do. I think that's a great tip for parents there. And I must put my hand up. I must let that out. Because you're like, no. I don't want to go out there to play that. Just go and read your books, and and that's a great insight for me. And when I was reading that, for me is the fact that this God is just so special. How could you create beauty, in what seemingly look as if it's if you get what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he gave it anyway. And it's like, if I was to give you a gift, it's your choice whether to take it or not.
Wow.
So how do you define a gift? A gift is something that you are given for free. Yeah. Whether you take that or not is your decision. Now, I am not musical, and people pay me not to sing. I've had that.
Please don't sing.
But what I saw in them, I knew that there was a reason, and my wife says to me, maybe that is why they've been given to us. Perhaps that would not have happened with other parents. Now, I'm not saying we're better parents than other parents. I'm just saying we were the right parents for them.
Yeah.
And there are reasons that, children are given to certain parents as gifts. And sometimes you can question that with the challenges that they bring. But how are you going to, respond to that? I remember reading a while ago about in America about a guy who was at his award ceremony, and he had studied 10 years to be a doctor. And his parents, when I say they had scraped every cent together to make sure that he got his doctorate in his award, he went up to receive it, and he said, "Mum, Dad, thank you for this. You've done everything for me. I could not have asked for more, but I can't do this." And they were mortified. And he said, I don't want to do anything else except be a clarinet player.
Wow.
That's what he did. And that's what he went up and did. And he said he couldn't. He was being a doctor to please his parents. Not to do what he was meant to do. And I didn't want to be like that. I wanted to encourage my children in not so much what they wanted to do, but what they had been gifted with and what their attitude was. And I like to think that I've tried my best.
I'm sure you have.
Well, we looked for opportunities, and we I tried to explore opportunities. When my mother found out that I was taking my son to a jazz club at 6 years old, she hit the roof. Where else is he going to learn how to play jazz drums?
Wow.
Life experience, it's life experience. Nobody else is going to be able to get them that life experience. So you know, he you know, went to many various things, and you know, with Alicia singing in a worship band at church, you know, she would not get that experience otherwise.
She would try to.
Yeah, and with Nathan going to football as well, and you know, it's about giving them that self-worth to believe that they can achieve those things that they're meant to do, and not trying to kind of force them, but guiding them. You know, okay, maybe you know, jazz wasn't right for Josiah, but music is. So you're flexible, you guide them, but you're flexible with that guiding.
Oh, wow.
I just feel that, you know, what can I say? I think that, you know, they're happy with what they're doing.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Because if you've got somebody that is learning something, that is happy, they're going to want to learn, they're going to do better. Instead of, okay, we all need to do things we don't like doing. So I'm not great at certain subjects, but you know, I try and apply what I know from them, and it's the application of those abilities. So yeah.
That is really good, because I've gotten so much nugget there. Just going to say welcome to my viewers again. We're still on with Steve. I'm really excited. He's just giving us the nugget, and we're wondering, oh God, you know. And one of the things that he said there is said now is letting them, you know, the way he could harness and nurture the gift he saw in his children was letting them do what they wanted to do, as in the gift. And I like that illustration of, if you are given a gift, you know, you have to accept it. A lot of us are given gifts that we are not accepting, and as we grow older, it becomes very difficult for us to accept those gifts. And that's why when we see such opportunities like this and we are parents, we should do everything that we can to actually nurture those gifts and make them who God wants them to be, because that's the only place they would find happiness. You've got a question here, though we would go into questions later, but I'll just take this. How did you feel and manage him? I'm just going to put this, and just bear with me so I can read it well.
I've actually got a really good story about that.
Okay, so how did you feel and manage him at the age going to sit at the band?
Sit at the back, right? Okay, so Josiah for a while was known as the phantom drummer at church, because what would happen is new people would come in the church, and he was so small you couldn't see him over the toms, so they were like, the drums are playing themselves. It's like, I've got photos. He would literally be on his tiptoes with the kick drum, with the bass kick drum and the hi-hat, and he literally reached down with his toes, and he would have to reach up like that with his sticks. But you know, it's kind of things like that where you just know that, you know, one day we heard this noise coming from the toilet, and we thought, what is going on? And I opened the door to find Joe using the toilet seat as a snare, and the pedal bin as a hi-hat, and he was playing on them with the toothbrushes. And I was like, oh, we've got to get a kit. This is crazy. So we kind of, like, he couldn't help himself. And we thought, why couldn't it be a quiet instrument like guitar or piano? Like drums.
Why drums? I know. Yeah. I've had that discussion with my son. I'm like, I don't like noise. Don't bring the noise in.
No. Well, we've got him electronic drums, but there's certain things you can't do on electronic drums. You can do on acoustic. Yeah, so he's on acoustic, and it's right above my office. So yeah, I'm out when he's playing.
Okay. That's good. I know you've mentioned this before, but I just want us to dwell just a bit on it. You know, the question here is, has there been any time, and I know there would be, where we've actually thought about giving up, you know, or blaming God, or just running away, you know, away from, you know, has there been any time like that in your life and with your wife, you know, where you just feel like, oh, I just want to run away, and I just, you know, I don't want to be here anymore?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Yes, there
Okay.
absolutely has been those feelings, and
Mm.
sometimes that's why you got a car. Just go for a drive, you know, and you know, sometimes there's friends that you have to call up, but most of the time, I found that, you know, just going for a drive, putting the music on to clear your mind for like 20 minutes or something, half an hour, and that kind of really helps, and it helps get everything into perspective. Other times, it's just been a case of just falling on my knees and saying, "Lord, help." You know, what are you, you know, what are you, what is going on? You know, I mean, I remember going to Great Ormond Street Hospital for children, and with Josiah, and they said, "We would like your help." And I said, "You're Great Ormond Street," and they said, "Yeah, we know." They said, "But we would like you to help us." I said, "Well, you're the professor with a PhD." Yeah, and they said, "Yeah, but you're the only ones." And I said, "What do you mean the only ones?" Well, they said, there's no other family like yours. I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, there's no other family with 4 siblings like yours. So we would like to know." I was like, I was absolutely shocked. I was absolutely shocked, to the point where the professor actually phoned up my wife that night, to talk with her and to try and understand what, you know, what was going on. And she was great. She was cool, at the time, but you know, it's, yeah, sure, I'm human. Yeah. And sometimes you just want to run, but what, you know, looking at the big picture, what would that do? Honestly, what would that do? And how would that solve anything? You know, at some points you've got to be very pragmatic. You know, who will deal with this if I don't? Who will, you know, rise to this if I don't? And yeah, I'm not going to lie, some of it has been very painful, soul searching. Thinking, who am I? You know, why am I here? What am I doing here? And you know, sometimes there's silence.
That's really that's the reality for me, because a lot of people kind of shy away from the real feeling when this, you know, when you're having that painful situation, whether it's, be it whatever it may be, going, your health issues, financial, divorce, you know, problems in marriages, you know, whatever that problem would be. And we tend to shy away from our actual feeling, you know.
Yeah.
And some people actually live in denial, you know. So no, but it's okay for you to feel down, it's okay for you to feel like running away. I felt like that several times, and even if I'm like, oh, I'm going to run away, I kind of wonder, okay, where are you going to? And
Yeah.
if you're going to the hotel, then after 2 days or thereabout, you're like, okay, the bills are going, go back home.
Yeah, I haven't got quite that far, but kind of one of the sort of good upshots is that because Joe was involved in a lot of bands and gigging and that kind of thing, you know, you know, he plays a lot of festivals and that kind of thing. So he's playing a festival this year, so we to go down to Surrey for like a long weekend, me and my wife and Joe, and so it kind of takes out that situation, and we meet like-minded people, and we can just chill out for a long weekend, you know. And you know, parents shouldn't feel guilty about taking a break. You're human at the end of the day. You're not a machine, and even machines need maintenance. So how much more, you know? And I think we live in a very analgesic society. We try and avoid pain at all costs. We try and you know, everything's got to be perfect all the time. You know, if you look at the media and the way that portrays life and says that's the way you've got to live life, it's very much an idealistic lifestyle that they portray, and it's not real. It's fantasy. It's a fantasy. And you know, even with people that have seemingly got a perfect life, you know, if you really knew them that well, you would know.
You know that it's a social media life, the way I call it.
Well, it's what they call it, the selfie kind of life. You
Yeah,
know,
that's it.
it's not real, because
It's
now
not
you
real.
can retouch your photos and you can pretend you're happy when you're not, and
I
you know,
know.
because you can't take a photo of the soul. You can take a photo of the face, but not the soul. And you know, that's where the deception is. You know, and we're all supposed to be like that. We're all supposed to be the same. We're all supposed to be you know, happy all the time and successful all the time. And it's like, well, if that was the case, you would never learn. And you would never get educated in those things. And it's unrealistic.
Yeah.
And
And you never find purpose anywhere.
you would never find purpose, and it leads to depression when everything isn't perfect in your life. And you know, we're now living in a society where everything's compared to certain people that have this seemingly perfect life, and it's unrealistic. And when you don't hit that, it leads to depression. And so it's almost like an artificial depression as well.
Yeah.
So
and Steve, sorry for cutting you short there. That kind of leads, to the next question, because a lot of people tend to bother about what people say. You know, for instance, if you have a challenge, you know, a child with challenges, you know, we're quite conscious about what will people say, how people react, you know, and like you said, they kind of lead into depression and all that. So for you, how would you say you coped with, you know, the feeling of how people reacted to your situation in the much younger days? You know, what would you say to parents and things like that?
I think, okay, in the younger days, it was really hard. I mean, really hard. There was not the understanding, there was not the knowledge of special needs, let alone autism. You know, the thing with you know, conditions that are visible is that you can instantly see that the child has some kind of disability or special need. With autism, if all of a sudden they start going crazy because something has changed in their lives or their environment, but there's nothing on their face to indicate that they have any kind of special needs, then it like, you're a bad parent because you haven't disciplined your kid. And it's like, well, wait a minute, you know, they didn't let you explain. My wife was out with a friend of ours, and you know, our eldest had just been diagnosed, and she just said an off the cuff comment, "Oh, if I found out my kid was autistic, I'd have bought it."
Oh.
So we were like, she's not a friend anymore. And,
it's been a while.
You know, and we were like, we were, you know, both of us for years. That took us years to get over that comment. But the thing is, you know, we've been involved with other people who have children with you know, undiagnosable conditions. They're called small children syndromes without a name. And you know, they've had comments for their kids like, you know, they shouldn't be allowed out in the public. A very kind of Victorian kind of mentality. And but here's my comment on that. Are you going to let that person define you? And what you do? Are you going to let that comment define you, or are you going to move on, or are you going to let your life be dictated to by someone's ignorance? That again is a choice and a decision. Yes, what they said was wrong, but how are you going to respond to that, and how are you going to deal with that? And that in itself is an education. That in itself is, am I going to progress on? Am I going to let that cast me down? Or am I going to let that elevate me to seek a better way of response?
That's it.
And you know, it comes down to what are you going to allow in your life that will make you or break you.
That's it. Wow.
And
Wow.
sometimes these things are sent in our lives to shape us up, to hone us, to you know, to understand who we are as people. And you know, sometimes things will break you and you think, oh man, I you know, I thought I'd be able to deal with that better. Realizing that is progress, because next time you're going to respond in a better way.
Better way. Yeah.
So it's definitely got better, but I still think that now we've kind of gone full circle in the last 20+ years. So we've gone from ignorance to a lot more understanding, especially in the late 80s, because the whole MMR thing that kicked off. But then there was more understanding of people who had autistic spectrum disorder and special needs. But now it's gone back to, well, why should we support them? You know, and they're becoming, you know, yesterday I watched a documentary on eugenics, and it was absolutely horrendous. And this is the area of science that is, you know, that justifies in the demeaning of somebody with special needs. And it's horrendous that there should be that mindset in the 21st century. It's awful, absolutely awful. And there's no justification for it at all. No justification. But I think that the fact that you have me on, and the fact that you're acknowledging that, you know, parents need this kind of guidance, support, help is a great step forward. I really believe that.
I think it's so important. We can't play down the impact, you know, like I tell people, you can't play down on the impact that your challenges, and I'm kind of generalizing now, of what the impact of what your challenges would cause, how people will look at you. You don't have control about how people look at you or what people will say about you, and you don't have control of other. And like you said, what you have control is, what am I going to do with this challenge? What do I want to take away from this challenge? And this is a good period, you know, this period of lockdown and all that. Everybody can be better. Oh, I'm just going to be at home and all that. But we just have, like you said, we just have to pull ourselves together and say, okay, this challenges that is happening, everything that is going, am I going to be a better person so that I could have a better answer the next time? Is there another way of looking at things where I could, you know, be a better person or represent myself better, you know? And is in all that, you know, that we develop ourselves and we learn, you know, and that's very, very important. What you want to take out of it. Just moving on to the question, you know, and the one that I said, I know you've said a lot about it, but I'm just going to delve in terms of, with the kids and all that, what kind of support did you get, you know, or what kind of support would you recommend, or what were the challenges with your support that you had, you know, for now, you know, just briefly? I know we've mentioned bit and bit of it, but what kind of support did you get from school, from church, you know, and, you know, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, because, you know, it was so long ago, we there wasn't that understanding, there wasn't that kind of acknowledgement, so we didn't really actually get much support at all. And you know, it was a real problem in trying to get people to understand what we were going through for something that wasn't generally acknowledged in society. But kind of moving on, to be honest, we had to really fight for everything. So Nathan, for example, my eldest, and the others, they've never really had a social worker. It's always been a duty social worker. You know, and that's been a problem. I think that, you know, kind of leaving that behind and going forward, there is a lot more understanding now in Christian community and in church communities of special needs. But there's still that kind of barrier that, well, I haven't been in church before, I don't know what to expect. I think it's down to personal relationships and down to being invited and down to, making you feel welcome. And if the church wants to be supportive, maybe you want to drop the sort of really loud worship band with lots of flashing lights for the week when you've got sort of people with special needs coming in, because it might overlap, for example.
Too much for them.
And it does, and it is too much for them. I mean, I think I'm kind of fortunate in that with Nathan, he's been very accepting, but as I said before, Nathan's had a lot of healing, he's had a lot of prayer. They told us he would never walk or talk. And we said we're not going to accept that. And so as he grew older, we moved church, and we went to a very faithful, Bible believing, miracle believing church, and every week the pastor would just pray over him, and that's all he would do. And we went to see a specialist diagnostic center in Hertfordshire. And the doctor there went to see him, or we went to see the doctor to have a look at his progress. And we saw him when he was younger, and it was before Nathan was prayed for. And Nathan smashed his head on the floor because he'd never been in this room before. He was just totally unfamiliar with the environment. And the doctor jumped out of his, couldn't believe it. But after a year, literally our pastor for a year had prayed for Nathan. That's all he'd done. He went back in that room, that same room, went up to the doctor, shook his hand and said, "Hello, doctor, how are you?" And the doctor said to us, in my 20 years of dealing with autistic people, I've never seen such an improvement. And that's what church can do. It can pray, and the church can get together in their various capacities and pray for people with special needs and their families, that they would have rest, that they would have supernatural rest. It's literally, although he's diagnosed with autism, there's other conditions there that are undiagnosable, but also multifaceted as well. So there's different layers. You sometimes find it's like dominoes. So where you get one special need, it can knock the others. It impacts on other areas of them as a person. But as I say, prayer is absolutely vital. We also found with the social services, the big problem that we had when we had the first one diagnosed and we were able to access some services, we thought, oh, that's okay, because when Anna got diagnosed, we'll be able to do that again. And we couldn't do that again because they changed the way you apply. And every year they changed the way you apply. So everything from, well, they used to be called statements, and now they're, I can't even remember what they're called.
It's been a while.
They've changed. They keep changing them. Their statement has now changed, and they changed that, and they changed the application process, and they, because they don't want to statement them, because then that means that you can access things like homeschool transport, a place in a special needs school, rather than, say, a teaching assistant that your child can get for an hour a day if they're fortunate in a mainstream school. And you really need to, my wife was amazing. She was absolutely on the ball when it came to these kind of things. And it's literally, I'm not going to lie to you, she would be up till 3 a.m. reading about it on the web, because there was nobody prepared to consult us or tell us. It was literally, it turns you into somebody who fights for your family, and it makes you stronger that way. But I'm not going to lie, it is a tough fight. It is a tough fight, because they are not, certain agencies are not going to be as helpful as they could be, shall we say.
Yeah.
Or as they should be, because their caseloads are so big. And this is the problem that we found accessing services and getting help and that kind of thing. So yeah,
I like, I like that. No, I do like that, you know, because if you've said a lot of nuggets there, and I'm going to start with a bit of prayers. And I'm not sure how many churches do this, but I think it's a good nugget, you know, that we need to pick up from there. You know, the laying of hands every day, because
absolutely,
a lot of people feel, you know, I don't know how to put this, you know, it's kind of difficult from the parent side, you know, when you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with this child and everything, you know, and all that. And on church, what you just want is somebody to just help you. So I think it's kind of a relief if it doesn't even have to be a pastor, it can be any one of us if the parents wants us to do that. To just join hands and tell them, just want to pray for you that, you know, whatever you're going through, I'm there with you. I don't know what you're going through, but I agree with you that this child will speak. I agree with you that this child will walk. I agree with you, you know.
Absolutely. It is speaking in faith. And it is, you know, look, I've come under it. I'm just like, when I've had a bad day and a really bad day, I said, what is going on, Lord? This is never going to work. You know, I've said it before. But that again, it is a mountain you step on and you go on to the next one that is higher. And you learn from that, and you're just like, oh, what did I say? Well, I didn't mean that. Yeah, we all do it. We all do it.
Father, isn't it?
Well, you all say things that you don't mean. I mean, we're human, right? But it's learning from that and saying, okay, I'm going to make a concerted effort not to say that again, or not to confess negative words over my children or my family or my situation again. And just speak truth and biblical truth and you know, go through the scriptures and read the scriptures and announce them over your life and over your children's life, right?
Wow, that's good. I learned that. So prayer, scripture, and just believe in yourself. I'm going to ask this question, which is part of, welcome to everybody that's joined us. I can see a lot of people here. I can see Ajit, I can see Anna, I can see Natalie. I'm just welcoming you. Thank you. We're still with Steve, and we're talking about finding purpose in your pain. And my next question is, how did you find your purpose in this pain?
Here I am.
I'm still living.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you know, how did I find purpose? Well, it's my life, isn't it? And it's kind of realizing, oh, you wake up one day, that's why I was here. You know, it's like, okay, so I got this. And it's that realization, you know, and you're thinking, I don't think I've ever thought, okay, this is, you know, kind of like, this is my purpose. I just thought, hey, Lord, how are we going to work this? You know, how are we going to make this work? How we get, you know, this thing's crazy. And then, but it's almost, for me, it's been a kind of thing, hindsight thing, where you look back and say, oh, that's why that happened. Well, that's why that was given. Or that's why there was that situation that I just could not fathom at the time. Because I needed to learn from that, and I needed to teach others from that. You know, I had a situation where for 5 years I ran a support group for dads of children with special needs, and it was a huge success. But you know, where the only thing was, we would just meet in a pub and talk, and that was it. No agenda. There was no like requirement. We would meet in a pub and talk, and you know, that Christmas we had like 25 guys turn up for the Christmas dinner. And they all hit it off. And you know, unfortunately, as you know, my next one got diagnosed, and my next one, I just thought I didn't want, well, yeah, because I didn't want to be, you know, kind of one of these parents that was so often helping out other parents that I neglected my family.
That's important.
Yeah, so that was kind of one of the purposes. Looking back now, I probably should have, you know, perhaps handed it over or something to someone else, handed it over. But maybe at some point again, I'll reboot that. But as I say, it's a full-time job, having a full
It is.
helping.
It is, yeah, I know. As in, it is a full-time job, even working with a child with special need. But talking about four, because for me it's in layers, you're talking about four children with special needs. You're talking about four children that are gifted. So just imagine you have to take Josiah for music concert and things like that. Even, that on its own is different. Then you have another one that is into football and plays, football, and you still have to do all that, so that's on its own is a lot of commitment, and which is going to lead me to my next question, which is part of it. And just in few words, what sacrifices would you say you've paid over the? I know there are a lot of sacrifices you've done. let's limit it to 2 or 3. What are the tangible sacrifices you think that you've done, in this process of your pain?
Okay, so sacrifices, obviously, with what happened. I mean, it was kind of fortunate. I was never really, to begin with, a kind of career sort of person. Okay. So it wasn't a case of sacrificing a career, but potentially, yeah, I guess. But having children, you make that decision. You make that decision that your family is going to be first, and listen, you can always get another job, but you can't get another family. Yeah. And it's about that priority. Obviously, the instruments and harps are not cheap. Yeah. But what you got to look at, you got to look at the big picture. Yeah. So what was I going to do? Was I going to get music lessons, or compared to private, full-time private education, it's very, there's no comparison really. So I was in real world experience with music lessons, with progressing onto other instruments as well for the children. So when you look at it like that, they are kind of benefiting from this extracurricular education, but it's within sort of manageable sacrifice, if you see what I mean. You're going crazy into debt, buying a private education, but you are kind of giving them kind of bite sizes of that, and I said, okay, what am I going to do? Am I gonna save up for the kids, or am I going to invest in their education? And the conclusion I came to was that you get one shot at education when you're young. Okay, so I thought the earlier we invest in this education, the earlier we invest in these kind of private music lessons, that kind of thing, the greater it's going to benefit them when they're older, which is what I decided, and it seems it's working so far.
yeah. And for me, taking on from that, I think one of the major sacrifices that I would say that you've taken is that sacrifice of self, that sacrifice of giving yourself, giving your time, giving what you could have done, to invest in, the gifts that God has given you, even though it's not what you're expecting, quote, but giving it all and say, okay, you're mine at this stage. Because a lot of people at the point will say, oh, I don't want this anymore. But accepting that gift from God, accepting that, yes, this are the children God has given me. They might not be seemingly what people think they're perfect, but I'm ready to offer myself. And for me, I see that bit where Jesus did for us. A lot of us, we're not worthy of it, and a lot of us have gone through some, through a lot of time. But even for us.
Sorry, Seyi, you just broke up then, so I don't know. Oh, signal's gone.
At all for us, I don't know whether you missed me a bit there.
Yeah. You just repeat, because it broke up a bit.
Okay, so what I said is, when you're talking, the gift, the way I see it the most is the sacrifice of self. which I can see exemplified by our Lord Jesus Christ. Even though we were not worth it, even though a lot of us were in sin, it already made a preparation as a father to send his son for us, to die for us and give himself for us. You know, even knowing that while we're, you know, that scripture that says that while we're yet sinners, Christ died for us. Even though the gifts that, you know, I would, you know, like parents, you have given birth to this child and you expect the best. And a lot of us, you know, as we know, we are not the best, and yet God still wants to die, send his son to die for us. God has still, Jesus paid the ultimate price and for us, even though we do not deserve it. And I think, you know, stepping aside as parents, I think we need to learn from that. And which is what I would, you know, thank you for doing for this, for the kids, is understanding that, because a lot of times we think it's all about us. But understand that we are being given something, and the great sacrifice of our time, the great sacrifice of, I need to harness what God has put in this child. I need to harness what God has put in this wife. I need to harness what God has put in this man, whatever it is, and see it as a gift, like you said, and accept the gift and bring out the best, because that's what Jesus did. You know, for us, he died for us even when we did not deserve it. And yet, a lot of us still reject him anyway. But that's not stop the gift. Is that anytime anybody turns back and say, "I'm ready today to accept you," he's ready. He's available for us. And for me, that seems really, really good. I'm just quickly looking at the question. What do you? Let me just put it. I think I have to go and with my glasses. And I said, what do you do when it seems that people don't understand you and your family situation?
I kind of gone past that years ago. That goes back to, you know, what do you allow to define you? I think we're in a very kind of one-upmanship kind of society now, and people constantly trying to prove themselves and that they're either better or as good as. But you know, we've got nothing to prove, and you know, in fact, in the past we've had a lot of prejudice. We've had a lot of people look down their nose at us. You know, we've had, you know, still have people ignore us on the street, and we know why. And it says a lot more about them than us.
That's it. It doesn't matter.
Well, it's sad. It's actually kind of sad, because they're the ones missing out. Their kids don't play with our kids and all that kind of thing. You know, it's just really, really sad. And I've tried to engender an understanding of self-worth in the children, and that they don't have to worry about what people think of them, because that's a fallacy anyway. But how do I respond to it? It used to bother me, used to get me really down, but it doesn't anymore. It doesn't. I've gone. I'm not saying I'm proud that I've gone beyond that, but that their thoughts don't matter.
Don't matter, and I think that's a good one. And that question is from Anna, and I'm just going to add to what Steven said. It doesn't matter, because, like I say, your journey is different from my journey. You don't know you don't know what I've been through, you know, because if I've not interviewed Steve now and I've just met him somewhere, I don't know what's going through. It's because we've met, we know each other, and we've got to do this live, you know. That's why I know his story. So people don't know your story. Your story is unique to you. You know, I did a live last week, and it's evolving, you know, you in this time of crisis. You need to understand and embrace you. Who are you? Whatever your situation is, you have to actually sit down and look at it and say, okay, this is where I am right now. This is my own journey. This is my own story. This is my own life. It doesn't matter, you know, I might have been broken. I might have been, you know, I might have a different package. You know, there's a scripture that actually humbles me. You know, is that scripture where it says that, does the clay ask the master why you've made me this way? You know, when I understood that scripture, it kind of humbled me, you know, and to make a funny joke out of it, you know, I said everybody eats chicken. Okay, a lot of us, you know, from where I'm from, we eat chicken. And I was eating chicken one day, and I was eating, and that thing just, you know, it just came to me. That scripture came alive with me eating chicken, and it said, every day we go to the store, we get the chicken, we boil it, we cook it. And it just occurred to me that I'm sure this chicken would be why is everybody always killing me? Why are they killing our race? They keep killing us and eating us. But whenever the poultry master or whatever is ready, he just goes there, pick the chicken or the whatever, and kills it, and then it ends in the store. But for us, and God just made that funny, illustration for me, because our journey is different. You are different. Steve is different. I'm different. If I tell you my journey, is different. So, and I used to say, stay in your lane, beautify your lane. And that's why we're doing this program, finding purpose in what your pain is. Create that purpose and make it beautiful. Yes, you have divorce. Yes, you have a child that is special. Yes, you have health issues, but bring joy out of it. Make it beautiful. Make it and like Steve said, finding time to also ask God. And he's a good father, and I love him for that. Telling him and say, oh God, I don't understand what this situation is. Oh, I'm like this today. And it's there. It will always help you. Thank you, Anna, for that question. Yeah. And I'm going to also ask, what advice would you give to parents that currently, I know we've just given one to Anna's question, but I've just put that down. And would you give, just in 2 words, to parents that actually have this challenge at the moment, and they also want to harness, they've seen the gifts in these children, but they also want to harness the gift in them. So what advice would you give to them?
It would be 3 words, actually. It would be, don't give up. It would just, you I had it said to me recently, you won't know what the outcome will be if you gave up. You can't, you've got, some days, I've had days where it's literally, got to keep going. You don't know why, you don't know what the end result is going to be, but you just keep going, and you do not give up. And sometimes, you're thinking, why, even why am I thinking that way? My whole situation is crumbling around me. But if you allow that situation to crumble you as well, then you will not know what the result will be had you given up.
Yeah,
and that's the only, you can only look back if you've moved forward. Yeah, you can only look back if you've moved forward, because otherwise, if you just stop where you are and let it kind of fall down on you, you won't be able to learn from that. But I would say to all parents, I mean, all parents, whether a child is special needs or not, we all have challenges because we're bringing up the next generation. Yeah, keep going. There's no more important role than that, because there's, how our next generation turns out is down to us. And when they look up to us, and when my kids look up to me, and we pray to Heavenly Father, their definition of a father is going to be me. So if I'm a bad father, they're going to think Heavenly Father's bad.
Wow.
If I'm a good father, they're going to think, okay, God isn't so bad, and then their mental image of God is going to be based on their experience of what a father is. So I'm responsible for their spiritual growth and their spiritual heritage as well. And so I've got to be so careful about what do I slip up? Of course. Do I say things I don't mean sometimes? Of course I do. But it's not as bad as it was.
Yeah, I know. You see me dancing there because, that's such a beautiful point for any parent out there. And I know a lot of us don't say like that, but you've just said it beautifully. You are a representation of the father they need to see. And you're a representation of the mother they need to see. And you also said that, you said our next generation is dependent on us, and it just kind of collaborates what I saw somewhere. I think it was a post, and the person was saying, if you look at yourself and think, is this the kind of son or daughter I want to become or see in my child? If that is not, then go ahead and change yourself. And that's a lot of responsibility that is missing during this time now. That whenever we are going through this, we must take the responsibility to say, oh, I must be the best. in as much as it lies within our power to bring the best out of your, I used to say, out of yourself first, then form the family that God has given you, to say, okay, I must be the best father, I must be the best mother, I must be the best whatever it is, because until when we do that, we will miss the point, because our children will only see in us what we want them to be, and like you said, rightly, if they see a bad father in you, then that's a representation of God. They will know, and that's really beautifully put together. Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so excited, because that kind of brings up the light in me, because I just know how that's so true, and I know that a lot of that is missing at this time, and the next generation is actually dependent on us. I know we've got a little bit gone a little bit past the 1 hour that we said, and I'm just thanking for everybody, and thank you for everybody that has joined us. I'm really excited. I'm also thankful for Steve that's honored our invitation to be here. I'm really, really glad that you're here. I'm so glad about everybody that has just joined us in this journey. Is our first one, and we'll be doing this bi-weekly, so the next one will be on the 29th. So I'm really, really grateful for everybody that has joined and have stayed with us on this broadcast. So Steve, what would be your concluding message to people today before I
Wow, do you know what, I had a verse, right, and this is what I was reading. Is that there's two verses actually. Where I grew up, my mum had this verse in the kitchen, and it was Isaiah 26:3. Thou will keep him in perfect peace. Okay, you write that down. Isaiah 26:3.
Let me put that in something.
And this verse has sustained me through a lot. And that is, thou will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. So if your mind is focused on God, he will keep you in perfect peace. And then I was reading Psalm 62 verse 1 this morning, that says, for God alone my soul waits in silence, from him comes my salvation. And verse 2, he alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress, I shall not be greatly shaken. So that, I think those two verses, the first one was for me and the second one was for my situation. And so that's Isaiah 26:3 and Psalm 62 verse 1 and 2. So
that's 61 and 2.
Sorry, Isaiah chapter 62 verses 1 and 2.
Okay, I'll put that in there. Yeah, that's really beautiful, actually, and it's so comforting and soothing, that you have somebody there, that number one, it will keep you in perfect peace, and I would never leave you. And with this session, I think you've just ended it, with those words that are really soothing and comforting to a lot of people that would either are online now or would hear this later. That it will never leave us. It will never forsake us, no matter how the journey would be, no matter how difficult. And for me, having that, even and I, like I said, I like to be practical. There are some days that we know we'll cry, and and in your crying, you're crying, you're like, oh, I know you will never leave me. I know you are my father. I know you care for me. I can't deny it because you've been there for me over the years. I love you, but you're still crying.
But what is going on?
What's going on? But the good thing, and to everyone watching this now and that will watch in replay, is you have someone there that cares for you. All you need to do is just stretch out your hands. All you need to do is just call on his name. A lot of people say, oh, I have to do like...
I would say to people, don't be proud and hold it in. I mean, obviously be mindful of who you talk to. Somebody you trust implicitly. But don't be so proud as to think you can handle it all by yourself. You're human. You are human. Reach out and talk to someone. Some of my lowest points have been because I've been too proud to talk to someone. And if that means phoning someone up, if that means texting someone, if that means communicating with them in another way, then so be it. But I think a lot of it comes when we accept ourselves for who we actually are, and that we're not perfect, and we haven't got it all figured out, and we haven't got it all together. But we're all, like you say, Seyi, we're all on a journey, and that journey partly defines us and our experience and who we are. But it's who we are going on that journey for that's the most important thing for me, is Christ. And without him, I would not have been able to make it through. There's just no way. I found myself one day, just quickly, my son had, Nathan had been diagnosed. We ended up genetic clinic at Great Ormond Street, and I found myself in this room with this senior geneticist, and she said, well, we're not actually sure what's wrong, but there's a great chance your next children could have it. How do you feel about that? And I said, listen, I don't know if you believe in God or not, but Christ has carried me through this once, and he'll carry me through it again. And her face was, she didn't know where to turn. And I walked home in perfect peace. I opened my Bible study that night, and it said about Christ carrying us. And I was like, yes, Lord.
That's it.
And I was just like, yeah, not because I got it right, but because Christ was with me in that. And what seemed like a kind of brick wall situation that was impenetrable, he, walked through me with it, with me through it, rather. I, that is it. Having that faith that no matter how bad it is, he'll never leave or forsake us. And that's what he said, and that's his promise. And hold on to the promises. Hold on to the promises.
Yeah. Good. Thank you so much, Steve. I'm so excited. I'm really excited because I'm excited for so many things. I'm excited that it's our first show. Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm excited that Steve is here with us. Yeah, I'm excited for everybody that has joined us on this live show. I'm really excited, but I'm more excited for fulfilling purpose for me. Because I won't be doing this if not because I've also gone through pain myself, and my pain have actually produced this program amidst other things that he has produced, because I know that pain and whatever we go through in life has a meaning if we look into it. There's a scripture that I pray, and I think everybody should be praying that prayer in this midst of crisis that we are in. Lord, give me a seeing eyes and a hearing ear.
Amen.
Because when you have a seeing eye and you have a hearing ear, you will know what God wants you to do in your time of pain, your time of crisis. So I'm really excited. My name is Seyi, and it's Finding Purpose with Seyi. Like I said, we'll do this bi-weekly every month. But amidst all that I do, I am a transformational coach. I'm mixed with every other thing that I do. So we've got a charity for for widows and single parents, where we would encourage people, where we help widows, where we help single parents. So if you'd like to join us, please DM me and reach out to us. That's Seyi.finding purpose and pain @gmail.com. Please send me a message so that we can talk. You can chat me for your one-to-one coach, for your mentoring, for your masterclass, which we do. Please just get in touch with me, and please look out for our program that is coming very soon. It's going to be like a coaching training program for finding, because the steps that we've seen is about 7 steps of how you can actually harness your purpose in your pain and lead it to a path, to find your purpose. So look out for that, and that is one that I'm really excited, because it's taken us almost 3 years to actually develop this. So I believe it's going to come up with a good quality. And if you're out there, you have a story, a compelling story, because I know, when I started this and I started reaching out to people, a lot of people have reached out to me and their stories are really, really exciting. I'm like, oh, Seyi, your story is just there. Just keep it. And that's why I said I'm not going to start with my story. I'm going to start with a lot of other people's story that are challenging. So if you are there that you have a story, or if you know someone, please I'll put the my email again down, you know, once we finish this. So it's finding purpose in pain at gmail.com. So send us a message and we would get back to you. Thank you, all our viewers. We are really, really excited to have you here. Thank you for those that will be watching on replay. We are really excited, and I'm sure God would have spoken to you because I'm really blessed. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome, Seyi.
for coming today.
It's been a privilege being here. Thank you very much for asking.
Thank you. And our love to Nathan, to Josiah, to every one of them, and to your wife, you know, to actually, because in all this, you know, we need to actually say thank you to them, you know, to your wife for sustaining, because she must be a strong woman.
My rock as well. I mean, she's been incredible, and you know, she's been. We wouldn't have got this far without her. No way. No way. George has been amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Wow.
And yeah, you know, kind of propping me up when I've fallen over and vice versa. And you know, it's like I say, you know, it kind of brings you together.
That's it. Because definitely there will be an impact on your marriage. There will be an impact on the family. You know, so I know that impact is, you know, is that. So we want to say thank you for her, for keeping on, for not running away, for staying by your side, for helping with the kids. And I'm sure one day we'll interview her also in another view, you know, just to give us another view on how we can, you know, she can help other people, which I know she's passionate about anyway. So thank you, everybody. Until we meet next time on this show, which is Finding Purpose in Your Pain with Seyi. Thank you, and I'll see you later. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Steve, and have a lovely week ahead of you. Thank you.
So
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.